Well, staying in Afghanistan with disturbing news coming in that former US-trained Afghan soldiers and translators who helped Allied forces during the 20-year war are turning to ISIS in droves. But why? Let's go now to our Middle East correspondent, Ariel Osseran, who joins us there from Tel Aviv. Good evening, Ariel. This sounds incredibly disturbing. Tell me, if this is in fact true, what is going on and why?
Well, Sarah, initial news of this is coming out recently from Afghanistan, from former security officials. They say that while the number of defectors is relatively small and limited, it is growing. And this is a concerning and important trend because these new recruits who are members of Afghanistan's US-trained intelligence services and also elite military units, they bring to ISIS, and namely the regional affiliate ISIS-K, critical expertise in intelligence gathering as well as warfare techniques. And so given the training and nature of these defectors, I think it's unlikely to assume that these guys are now strapping on suicide belts and shooting up hospitals like the attack that we saw today. They're perhaps more behind the scenes, but I think this still could potentially strengthen ISIS-K's ability to contest Taliban supremacy in Afghanistan.
For sure. It's worrying to say the very least, Ariel. And, these are people who these allied forces, the US, Australia, New Zealand, promised to protect. Now we know that the Taliban has been going door to door trying to find these translators and people who were working with foreign forces. How much responsibility does, say, the US and other allies have in this? They were meant to get these people out.
And many of these people feel that they've been left behind after Western forces left abruptly from Afghanistan. And as you mentioned, many of these people joined ISIS-K after the Taliban searched their homes and demanded that they turn themselves in. And in some areas, ISIS has become very attractive to them. Sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your friend. And at the end of the day, if there were another resistance that they would join to protect themselves, they probably would have done that. There was the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan in the Panjshir Valley that was led by Ahmad Massoud, the son of anti-Taliban commander Ahmad Shah Massoud, who was assassinated by al-Qaeda in 2001. But they were rooted out early September, and the resistance leaders have since fled the country. So in order just to simply stay alive, many of these well-trained people don't have another option.
So finally, Ariel, tell me, how much of a threat does this sort of pose to not just Afghanistan, but the wider international community?
Well, U.S. and other Western officials are already warning about this. They've even started in the recent months. Some have even drawn parallels to how ISIS started in Iraq with disenchanted Saddam Hussein generals picking up arms well-trained. But I think more immediately, the Pentagon is warning that ISIS and al-Qaeda in Afghanistan could still pose serious national security concerns for the U.S. Let's take a listen to a Pentagon official explain exactly this.
The intelligence community currently assesses that both ISIS-K and al-Qaeda have the intent to conduct external operations, including against the United States, but neither currently has the capability to do so. We could see ISIS-K generate that capability in somewhere between 6 or 12 months. I think the current assessments by the intelligence community is that al-Qaeda would take a year or two to reconstitute that capability.
And so given these threats that we just heard, while the U.S. has begun providing some intelligence to Taliban against the Islamic State, Taliban officials are not willing to admit that they're cooperating with the West, especially not in fighting the Islamic State. Some spokesmen are saying that there's no need for assistance from anyone against ISIS. And they've even said that if all their economic and administrative problems are solved, they can thwart out ISIS from Afghanistan within 2 weeks. That's a little bit of an overstatement, I think. But there are definitely a lot of opposing forces in Afghanistan, and many of them could, down the line, pose a threat to Western interests. after posing immediate threats to Afghans at the moment.